Well, a very good evening to you. Welcome to the second half on Pure West Sport with Eaton-Evans and Morris Solicitors. We are live on the Facebook page and in all of the usual places that you listen to Pure West Radio. And coming up tonight, we will preview Haverfordwest County's Europa Conference second leg with B36 this Thursday night after Tony Pennock's side gave another brilliant account of themselves in the Faroe Islands last Thursday. We'll also look back on an exciting weekend of Pembrokeshire cricket and reflect on a brilliant ending to the Ashes as it ends in a 2-2 draw at the Oval tonight. And our guest is local golfer Alan Jones, fresh from winning the Welsh Senior Open Golf Championship and now named in the Wales squad for the home countries tournament in September. That's all on the way on Pure West Sport with Eaton-Evans and Morris Solicitors between now and 9 o'clock. Gordon Thomas is in the studio in Haverfordwest. Evening to you, Gordon. How are you?
I'm very good, Ben. A bit of a blustery weekend. I did manage to see a bit of the Burton shock win against Neyland and Toby Heyman having a great knock, but we'll speak about that a bit later.
Yeah, that's to come in just a second. We will get to the cricket. Fraser's with us as well. How are you?
Good. A bit exhausted after another emotionally draining day of Test cricket, of course, but they got over the line in the end. What a fitting finish to an exhilarating series.
Yeah, it has been a brilliant series, and it was a great finish. And again, we'll talk cricket, I think, in this first part of the show. We'll come to Haverfordwest County in part 3 this evening. So if you went to the Faroe Islands, I think there was a small amount of supporters made the journey a really hard place to get to, though, for that first leg last Thursday. If you did go, let us know. But if you're going on Thursday for the second leg, can the Bluebirds pull off an upset, another one for the second consecutive game at Cardiff City? We'll get the thoughts of Gordon and Fraser before 9 o'clock. But shall we start with cricket? And I think we'll let Gordon go first on this one, Fraser, if that's okay, given he just alluded to the fact he did manage to watch a bit of the shock result of the day. Let me just do the Division 1 results first, and we'll finish with that shock one. So Carew were winners against St Ishmael's by 8 wickets. Loreni beat Saundersfoot by 14 runs. Branston beat Llangwm by 6 wickets. Cresselly were beaten by Narberth in a high-scoring game by 23 runs. But Gordon Thomas, result of the day that you just mentioned, Burton shocking the league leaders Neyland by 30 runs.
Yeah, top of the table, lost against bottom of the table. Who would have expected that at Oakfield Park on Saturday? Well, Toby Heyman did, because he was in fine form batting for Burton. He pulled off, he nearly hit Bill Cahn's car as well. I've seen that as well. We had a little bit of a chuckle as he hit it towards the boundary. Bill was talking as ever. He didn't move his car, just missed it. Unlucky, Toby. Perhaps next time, mate.
It's always the worry, that, Gord, isn't it? It's always the worry when you park so close to the boundary. Yeah,
it is.
But seriously, that was some result, wasn't it, for Burton?
Yeah, funny enough, I was talking to Dapper John, who plays for Neyland, on the boundary while Toby was hitting them all about, and he just said the preparation didn't feel right today. I don't know what it was. I said, well, you're only halfway through the game. I'm sure you can sort it out when you're batting. And he said that Bellaby was missing and Murray were missing. They both got broken fingers from previous encounters. So they were a little bit not at full strength, but Neyland should have got over the line. But full credit to Burton. That's a great result. And, you know, that they deserve that throughout a very difficult season for them.
Fraser, it happens, doesn't it, from time to time? Sometimes you get the odd result like this where the bottom of the table really causes an upset against the league leaders. What does this mean for the title race? 19 points now, I think, separate first and second. Still in Neyland's hands with 3 to play?
Absolutely. It keeps it alive. It keeps it that little bit more interesting. But you're right, you're looking at 19 points. I think realistically, Neyland are going to have to slip up twice for Carew to catch them. I still can't see that happening in 3 games. I think, you know, if you're looking at hope from a Carew point of view, the weather is so inclement and changeable at the moment. There is quite possibility. We had a total washout the other week. There was rain about this Saturday, which thankfully didn't come to fruition. There is always the possibility of one team playing, another team being called off, depending on where they're playing and the circumstances. But barring rain, I still think it's Neyland's title. But it's good for Burton. It's going to be too late to save them from going down. But it's a good feather in their cap, and they can at least go down with a bit of momentum at least now, and it does keep things interesting, and it's a wake-up call for Neyland as well, of course.
Absolutely. Well done, Burton. That was some result. Gordon, it was good to see cricket back on, wasn't it? Fraser just said there, the inclement weather the week before, we had a total washout across Pembrokeshire.
Yeah, it's been very difficult. The weather's been very changeable in it, and it was the same on Saturday morning as well. There was some heavy showers in Haverfordwest at least. But as Fraser said, the danger is in our county. You could play in one side of the county and not play in the other. And if that happened in Carew's favour, who knows what will happen near the end of the season? But I do feel that it's too far to catch Neyland now, to be honest with you. But things do happen. Funny things do happen, like England winning a Test match. That was quite funny.
Winning 2 as well, absolutely. Just mention at the bottom of the table, Fraser, just before we talk about the Ashes, we should mention Herbrandston, shouldn't we? They had a win over Llangwm by 6 wickets. That gives them a bit of hope of staying up, doesn't it?
Branston is still alive now, very much so. I'd be concerned from a Llangwm point of view. We've seen this from Llangwm before when everything's clicking and everyone's available. They're a great side. You don't win the Harrison Allen Bowl unless you're a very good team. They obviously did that last year. But they have lost players this year to injury. Obviously, Steve Mills without injury is a huge loss for them. And they do have a tendency and they do have a history of capitulating when things start to go wrong. I remember back to 2013, they actually famously made 2 finals, the Harrison Allen and the Dougie Morris. Harrison Allen was played earlier in the year that year. Start of August. Once they lost those 2 finals, they completely collapsed in the last 4 weeks and ended up being relegated. And a side that should never have been in contention to go down. And you'd worry about that happening for them now. They lost a lot of momentum. The second team is struggling. They've got boys missing. And Herbie have got their tails up now. So that'll go to the wire between Branston and Llangwm, I think.
Mm.
Yeah, absolutely. And just locally as well, Fraser, the T20 competition that Craig Butland organises, is that underway now?
It is. Unfortunately, it's we couldn't have had a nicer summer for it last year, but the rain is really scuppering it this year. So Craig's been tweeting, lamenting the weather. It is still going on. Teams are participating, but there's a lot of rescheduled matches to be had yet before we reach the finals. But fair play to Craig for getting that going again and hopefully get a clearer picture of who's going to be in contention as things go on. But at the moment, the weather is playing havoc with it.
Yeah, okay, we'll keep an eye on that one. 3 more rounds of fixtures to go in the Pembrokeshire Leagues as well. So we'll bring you the conclusion of the season. Of course, you never know. It might just have taken a twist this weekend, and we'll let you know how that goes on Pure West Sport. To the Ashes then. England's winning today. Well, at one point, I thought they might still be playing as we came on the air this evening, because that was possible, wasn't it? They were talking about a mammoth 4-hour last session. But a brilliant effort, actually, with the ball today, because at one point Australia did look like they'd taken control of this game. And Gordon, we got the fairy tale finish, didn't we, for Stuart Broad?
Yeah, it was a fairy tale, to be fair. What an extremely brilliant bowler he's been over the years. 17 years bowling for England at the very highest level, and to announce his retirement a few days ago, and then to finish by taking the last 2 wickets to ensure that England drew the series. But yes, Australia won it ultimately. But I have to say the whole series was so close and interesting, and it was played in the right spirit as well. There was a couple of things, a couple of incidents, but nothing much to really.
Johnny Bairstow would agree.
Yeah. No, but overall, it was gripping, wasn't it? It had the whole nation watching Test cricket, which is what it's all about. And I just love the way that England go out and in a positive way, and they get runs quickly. I mean, they scored, what was it, 350 runs in one day? I mean, that's unheard of for years ago, but they play with a swashbuckling style, and I love it.
Fraser, on Stuart Broad, he hit his final ball, by the way, as well, didn't he? For 6, batting. I did a tweet earlier, and I think we'll realise how good, if we don't already, we'll realise how good Stuart Broad is and has been the next time we play Test cricket, because we'll be without him. Had he played in an era where Jimmy Anderson wasn't in the side, I think we'd be talking about one of England's best of all time, because I think he's just got that ability to make moments happen. He loved the Ashes. He steamed in. He could still be in the team, couldn't he? He's some player.
I'd go out on a limb here, and it's a hill I'll die on. I don't think it'll be universally held. Do you? I think he's England's greatest ever fast bowler. Not necessarily most talented and not necessarily most skillful. I think probably Jimmy Anderson takes that mantle. But in terms of producing when it matters, you just said it yourself. He produced spells under the greatest pressure in the greatest moments. You go back to 2009, you go back to 2015. He bowled those 2 spells which defined the Ashes, which won the Ashes for England. Actually, you look at it today, it's no coincidence that it was a finish like that, a fairy tale finish. He loves limelight. He loves pressure.
Loves the Ashes.
He loves the Ashes, and he loves grabbing the moment. And it was no coincidence that he took the vital wicket today, because he does stand up, he does bowl those spells, he does get on a roll, and he's been absolutely superb. And I think it's a very brave thing what he's done, because he's put all 5 Test matches. There were doubts over him physically, but he's come through all of them. He's taken wickets in every Test, and he would be in a position where he'd undoubtedly be picked for the next tour. And it's a very brave man, I think, who does that, who goes out when they're still on top, because he would still have, you think, at least a year or a couple of years more to give. So fair play to him.
Yeah, Gordon, we're going to come in.
Yeah, he will always be remembered as that, though, Fraser. He as you just said, he thrived on pressure. He loved the big game moments, and he delivered, which, some players can do it, others can't. Well, Broad was one of them who definitely could do it.
Yeah.
Yes, he will be missed, but there are bowlers in the England side that are coming through. We've got to give him time. We've got to give him a chance. So, he is one of the best ever bowlers that England have ever had, along with Anderson as well. Bob Willis, I can go back to, and Fred Truman before your days, boys. But they're great bowlers, but they thrived on the big occasion. You'll always get that type of player, and Broad was certainly one of them.
Stephen Harmison, recent.
Goff
Andrew
as well,
Flintoff,
great bowler.
Darren Goff. It's interesting. Fraser said that. I went for a run actually, and I was thinking about this, that Anderson or Broad, and universally normally people do say Anderson, and I think his longevity is unbelievable. He's taken wickets over such a long period of time. But if I had to pick a bowler just to bowl a spell in a really big game where you needed something to happen, you probably would chuck it to Broad over Anderson, just because the crowd always rally behind him, and he was always liable just to produce one of those spells. And I was listening on the radio yesterday to that 8 for 15 he took. Do you remember in the Ashes, I think in 2015, including that Ben Stokes catch that he took between those 2 fingers. And that spell of bowling probably is the greatest spell of bowling I've ever seen for England. And it came from Stuart Broad in that game at Durham. So you think, though, Anderson's got the longevity and is a brilliant bowler, but if you're talking individual moments, I think Stuart Broad has given us so many over the years, and maybe only now when you look back on that, you appreciate how good he's been. There's going to be a battle to replace him, and I tell you, one man who's put his hand up in this series finally, because he's not always had a chance, is Chris Woakes. Played 3 matches in this series, and has been named England's Player of the Series today as well.
World Cup, one of the most underrated performances we ever had for England. Over 3 formats as well. Remember, he's a World Cup winner in the T20 and One Day International, and has been at Test. And then actually, Rue not picking him earlier. I think in those first 2 Test matches, I think Anderson was flogged to too many. I do think he was a sentimental choice to pick him at the Oval. He didn't come out with 1 wicket in 2 innings there, and Josh Tung's been very unlucky. So if Ollie Robinson needs to get himself together, obviously there's physical problems there, but no, it's certainly a promising future, and it's exciting. Everyone talks about 2005. We have seen 5 absolute captivating Tests, to the point where you went to the final session on the final day with 4 results actually still possible. It was a fitting. It's a fair play to both sides. It's been contrary in a way in their brands of cricket. And yet it's been mesmerising. It's been a superb series. It's been
brilliant. Yeah, brilliant series. For me, I'd still go 2005.
The win and the originality,
and
the euphoria around 2005. I don't think will ever be topped. But I think if you're talking captivating cricket with, we didn't have any one-sided Tests here. They were all on a knife edge, really, going into the final day, with the exception of maybe Old Trafford.
Fraser, didn't we didn't have very many one-sided sessions, never mind Test matches. Every session had something on it this series, didn't it, really?
Exactly. It's super, it was captivating.
Unbelievable to watch, absolutely. Yeah, Stephen Price says Ollie Robinson to come back into the reckoning. I agree. I think hopefully Mark Wood stays fit. You never know if Jofra Archer might return. Probably unlikely, but is still around. I'd love to see him play red ball cricket again. Probably unlikely, but there are some bowlers coming through as well. And Stephen adds, could do with finding a good young leg break bowler to bring through, or just get Joe Root to bowl more, because he's had a really good series with the ball, hasn't he?
He's done well.
Yeah, he has. Right, listen, we'll take a moment. We are going to talk football in part 3 tonight. So we'll talk about Haverfordwest County's trip to the Faroe Islands last Thursday. Some controversy as well. And Gordon's going to tell us that dressing rooms being locked was common in his day. Not sure in the Europa League it should be, but it was a brilliant effort from the Bluebirds. So we'll talk about that. We'll look ahead to Thursday. If you're going to be going to Cardiff on Thursday, we'd like to hear from you as well. But in the next part, we're going to talk to local golfer Alan Jones, who is doing brilliantly on the senior circuit and will be representing Wales very shortly in the home countries tournament as well. And there's a great article about him today on pembrokeshiresport.co.uk that you can have a look at. We'll talk to Alan next on Pure West this Monday evening.
Eaton-Evans